Hello and welcome to another episode of E&F TV's Bridging the Gap. And today I'm joined by my friend Roxanne Mongie, coach, creator, revenue rockstar. What more could I say? Rox, how are you?
Well in yourself.
Yeah, not too
Yeah,
bad, not too bad. Surviving this heat wave just about.
just about. And children being home off school. So I don't know if you
No,
can hear that in the background. We're just gonna have to work straight through it.
and it is a thing, isn't it? I mean, mums, dads, I'm in the same situation. Mine's gone to holiday club. But if you have kids, suddenly you're confronted with this big block of time, i.e., 6 weeks, where you've got to use parents if you can. You've got to use holiday clubs. You've got to have the kids knocking about on Zoom
Mhm.
calls and things. So it's a real issue, actually, isn't it?
It is definitely, and just to add on to that, the being an expat, if you don't have your family nearby, it just adds a whole another level of challenge to it. So it's and also the cost of clubs and these sorts of things. So it is just juggling. I started my day at 6 a.m. this morning so that I could get ahead of things before he woke up, and I managed to get a lot done. And then luckily I'm able to be flexible with my time. So I'm going to knock off pretty soon to then go and have some fun with him because he's been on a tablet all morning.
Yeah. Doesn't it help if you've got an employer that gives you that flexibility around school holidays and appreciates that, holiday
Yeah.
clubs, like your post said recently, I think on Friday, that
Mm,
sometimes don't start till 10. My son's is 10 till 3. So in effect, it's going out twice in the middle of the working day.
yeah.
Doesn't work. This is a whole other show, actually, isn't it?
It is. But I must say, I think there's a lot of employers that are a lot easier navigating this now, and people are, especially after COVID, there's been a whole shift. So it has become easier with that flexibility. We see, I guess we see a few people being more understanding.
Yeah, and it's certainly something as recruiters as we are that I talk to candidates about in
Mm,
interview. Make sure that it's right for you, if the company's actually right for you in terms of their culture as well.
yeah,
You know,
definitely.
so important these days, isn't it? But
It is.
on that note, let's talk a bit. Tell us a little bit about your career then from day one.
Sure. So I started my career back in South Africa. Pretty much went straight into hospitality straight out of school, and 100% by accident. I didn't. I knew I wanted to leave the house. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I actually wanted to be a makeup artist, if I'm really honest. And these guys came over to the school from the International Hotel School. And I think I was in matric 17 years old, and they said you get to move to go and work at this resort. You get an allowance, so money every month. You learn on the job and you do a diploma. Um, at the end, and I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. Never mind the fact that I had never stayed in a hotel before, didn't know anything about hotels. I was going to do this, and I got the job and I got the placements and I ended up there. And I'll never forget my first induction day. They were talking about F&B. And I always tell the story because I think it's hilarious. And in South Africa, there's a bank called F&B Bank, First National Bank, but it's abbreviated. And they were talking about F&B, 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 and I was thinking, I don't want to do anything with banks. Like, what is going on here? To realize later that they were talking about food and beverage. So, um,
Brilliant.
so yeah, so that was the start of my career. I did 2 years with International Hotel School, then dropped out, unfortunately, because I didn't have the financial backing to be able to finish my studies there. But luckily, I had worked with somebody who then referred me for a job with Hilton, and I started with them back in 2007. I was really lucky to progress my career with them from front desk to reservations. And then I realized that I wanted to be in revenue management. So I, in fact, did some courses off the back of not getting a job as a revenue manager. So I was a little bit frustrated that I wasn't offered or considered a role in revenue management. So I did a certificate online, and it took a lot of time to do that. But I, at that point, decided that I was going to make it my mission to be the best revenue manager I could possibly be, so that I would never be overlooked for another revenue management role. Um, Back then, I think internet helped me a lot of Googling, a lot of being on mailing lists and these sorts of things to get the foundations, but then also supported by Hilton's courses that they had, and just learning and understanding the systems, how it worked there. But I did a course in revenue management, which then I later upgraded to a certificate and master in hotel management. Um, I was lucky enough to travel around the world a little bit. By around the world, I mean Middle East and Africa. So starting off in Durban, I went over to open the Conrad on Sheikh Zayed Road, then worked a little bit on the Palm for that opening as the revenue manager, then back to South Africa for a business development role, then a revenue management role, clustered role, and then finally over to the UK to be the revenue manager for the Hilton London Metropole. So that was 7 years ago already. I can't believe it. The time has absolutely flown. My boss actually sent that to me as a joke. He was like, "Ha ha, if you want to go to London," knowing that I had a British passport, of course, from my mom, but also knowing that I absolutely hate the winter and the cold. So he thought it was a joke. But when I saw it was a 1,000 bedroom property with 42 meeting rooms, as a really passionate revenue manager, you're not going to pass that up ever.
No.
No, so I came over for that and have been here for the past 7 years, taken various commercial director roles or head of commercial, and now I am freelancing as a revenue management consultant, as well as working in recruitment with Edwards and Finn. So a bit of a journey into where I am today, but
Hospitality ambassador, aren't you?
been a little bit all over the place.
Looking back, how important was that course that you did in revenue management all those years ago in making you the person that you are today?
Absolutely, it was really important. On the job experience is good, right? And you can demonstrate that when you get to on the job, but if you have a certificate or something that adds credibility to your name, that makes it a bit easier. I not only did the certificate in hotel revenue management, but later on I got the CRME certification as well as the CHBA with HSMAI. Those are a lot of abbreviations there. But I did done that because again, in an interview, somebody questioned my capability or my understanding without really knowing me or asking me the questions to uncover if I was able to do that or if I did understand. And ultimately, the feedback was that I didn't have the experience, which was untrue. So I went and did the certifications so that nobody could ever question me again.
Yeah.
That it was there, and now it's sort of in my name to say, you know what, I'm certified in that. And there can be no assumption that I don't know that. Ultimately giving me a little bit more credibility. So on the job is amazing. You learn a lot. That's where a massive amount of your foundations are going to come from. But backing that up and supporting it with certificates, with continuous learning, not only drives forward your knowledge, but also adds credibility to your name. So when you're looking at the CV, you can see that somebody has actually undergone personal and professional development, which is amazing. They can show that they're a continuous learner, but also then when somebody's asking you questions, they're asking you from a different level, because they know that understanding has already been achieved, and
Hmm.
you've done the tests or gone through a process to certify that you are familiar with the subject that your role is encompassing.
And that's obviously inspired you to take on this role that we're going to discuss now, which is one of the tutors at the newly, so I suppose, a new course of Revenue Academy. So tell us a little bit about Revenue Academy and how you got involved with that.
Sure. So Ali Northfield from Revenue by Design asked me a little while ago if I wouldn't mind joining in and supporting with this. So I do some work with Revenue Des by Design as a consultant, but also as everybody may know, Ali Northfield is a very close friend of Edwards and Finn. So Edwards and Finn is very much involved in not only recruiting in hotel revenue management, but also supporting the talents coming through the lines of hotel revenue management. So the alignment here was a no-brainer. Ali had originally sort of asked me for this in my own personal capacity, and I said to her, no, I think we need to let me do this on behalf of Edwards and Finn as well, because we not only have beneficiaries that are going to be participating, which we announced a couple of days ago, um, but also to have me coming in as a recruiter, but also as an expert in revenue management, then just sort of brings that circle together, closes that circle off. So yes, so Revenue Academy is an online learning. I really felt that I would be able to support in this area because I've done it myself throughout my career. I've done the online learning. I know how difficult it is to juggle both your day-to-day work and then your professional development. And one of the things when I came out of full-time employment, for instance, at the end of last year, and I've embarked on this journey of being self-employed, working as a revenue management consultant, but also in recruitments, was a core value of mine is to support talent growing in their careers. And I had a small change in my circumstance where I needed to have a lot more flexibility. And I wasn't then able to drive my career forward in terms of taking the positions that I wanted to take. And when I had to make that realization, I said to myself at that point, from now, I'm just going to try and support other people for driving their careers forward, while I have to just slow down potentially in driving mine. So when she came to me with this opportunity, it was just an immediate yes, because then I'm able to support other people along with their journeys, and that gives me a lot of satisfaction. So yeah, so like we said, it is an online courses that you can do at your own leisure. There is modules that you will be going through. There's a revenue management certificate level 1, and then a certificate level 2. This goes through the encompasses the full aspect of revenue management, so driving your top line, but how that flows through to your bottom line, which is so important nowadays with the rising costs, to support your hotels and being profitable. And then it's quite broad in its coverage. So anybody can do this course, whether it's somebody who isn't a revenue manager looking to move over into revenue management, or somebody who is an owner or a general manager that's just looking to get a bit more information. Sorry, we I am getting stamped
You're being
right
attacked
now.
by Jordan, aren't you?
I
To be
am.
fair, we did open this show by saying about the trials and tribulations of looking after children.
Yes,
Brilliant.
so I think I'm getting dinosaur stamps all over me as we're talking, but let's move on. This is
Yeah,
how we juggle.
this is real life, Rox. This is real life. I mean, I've shut the cats out. I've got two kittens that my wife bought a couple of weeks ago, and I'm just like, guys, you're out of there. There's no way you're getting in. It's a little bit harder with a tiny human. Hey.
Yes, at least it's not making noise. All he's done is just stamps all over my back. So I'll look a little bit weird after this, but you can't see it now.
I think something interesting that you said was just you kind of discussed a little bit about which kind of people would do this course, and you mentioned kind of GMs, which a lot of GMs that I've known have come up through an ops background
Hmm.
and have got into a position that encompasses commercials in their capacity, hotel commercial, and maybe want to understand a little bit about this deep dark secret that is revenue management. They're not quite sure what the revenue manager does,
Yeah.
and wants to understand a little bit. Who else would this course appeal to, and at what stage of the career?
Um, So I think it's quite broad that anybody can come in and do it. So whether you're a general manager and you just need to get a bit more of an understanding, like you said, most general managers have come up through the ops background, so food and beverage, or front office. So it is good that then you can say, okay, well, I need to build my commerciality, and my understanding of revenue management, because what we're seeing a lot more of nowadays is that directors of revenue management or revenue managers report into the general manager. So that general manager doesn't need to be an expert, but just needs to be a generalist on what they're doing to be able to manage them effectively. But then also somebody who's in reservations looking to build their skill sets.
Yeah,
Because once you've learned the theory, you've learned the theory, right? And then you will start putting it into practice. Every hotel is different in terms of demand, its makeup, its individuality. So having the basics and the foundations, then you're able to apply it across to whatever market or type of property you're going into or style of property. It's really that foundation that's needed there, and then your experience is built on from that. Another aspect is this specifically what I'll be supporting with over the next 6 months is leadership in hotel revenue management.
okay.
And some of the things that I'm going to be covering on is management of stakeholders. And this is really one of the toughest parts probably of revenue management. So once you've done the theory and you've got all the background and you know how to apply it, is explaining that theory and the reasons why you're taking certain decisions
Yeah.
to drive the revenue of your property. And that really takes some leadership, some stakeholder management, emotional intelligence, and these are all parts that I'm going to be discussing over the next few months. Because when you get into that commercial review and you're sat down in front of a bunch of people who aren't necessarily experts in revenue management, you need
Yeah.
to be able to articulate that story effectively to get everybody's buy-in. A lot of people will have opinions about what you should be doing, but without the full fundamental foundations, those opinions may not translate into the desired actions.
Yeah.
So it's really, I'm going to be supporting with talking about how do we do that as leaders in revenue management? How do we articulate? How do we take data and put it into stories that people will understand at all levels? From front desk, who are often impacted by our decisions as revenue managers, all the way through to explaining to an owner why we've done something, and or why something has happened in terms of the market demand, and our strategies or our properties.
Yeah, you can't always presume that hotel owners, for instance, know hotels, know their acronyms. You know, it's not their
Mm,
job really to be involved in the running of the hotel day to day. So to be able to simplify to the point where, even a 5-year-old could kind of understand it
yeah.
is vital, isn't it? And it's a skill that's often undervalued: stakeholder management, communication, presentation skills, fighting your corner, answering the hard questions.
Indeed, and managing the stress levels that come along with this.
Yeah,
As revenue managers, you are usually managing top line revenue of millions of pounds over a year.
yeah,
And all of the owners are looking for that average race, looking for that return, that top line revenue. And then taking it one step further and looking at how it's flowing through into the property and impacting the profitability of the property, because these decisions are made by us as well when it comes to commissionable rates, when it comes to selling strategies on different platforms or funnels, and really being a strong leader in being able to make good, strong decisions, but also to put the reasons why you've made those decisions across is really important. So having the fundamentals, the foundations, and the theory behind it, but then how do we lead in that? How do we articulate that? How do we get that across to everybody that we will be dealing with? And then one point that I'm going to speak on is stress management, because it is a stressful job, and how to sort of separate yourself from that and be able to take the data and the market trends and support you in backing up the story that you put forward to your owners, your general managers, and then also to the rest of the team.
Because you're in that position as a revenue manager, aren't you? Whereas you may have pressure from sales that, your sales manager may just be targeted on occupancy and just want to fill the hotel. Um, Accounts
Yeah,
are coming at it from a different side, and they're
yeah,
they're wanting kind of the profit, and you're kind of, you're in the middle, aren't you? You're trying to balance in terms of RevPAR, aren't you? The daily rate and the
yeah,
occupants, trying to please. It's really, I've always seen it as kind of like the nexus that brings everyone else, kind of the commercial operation together. So
together,
a lot of stress, big responsibility. It's great that there are accessible courses like Revenue Academy out there
indeed.
to kind of help. I mean, I would, as a like a drum beater or a flag waver for independent hotels, because I was always in independent hotels. I would say that if you're in that position where you've risen through the ranks, I came through sales, as you mentioned, business development. Um, I did a little bit of front desk and things. But if you're, say, reservations and you're looking to become a revenue manager, or maybe you've been taking on revenue responsibilities or put in this role without any tools or
Mm,
knowledge, definitely do Revenue Academy, or definitely do have a look, what else is out there and how can you kind
yeah,
of solidify. And I was in a position where I was doing it, but I kind of I needed the theory behind it, and I needed that kind of accreditation just for anything, just as to know that I was kind of making the
doing
right
the right
decision for the
thing.
right reasons. Definitely
Mm,
look at doing something like that, and definitely before you get your hand in your pocket, ask your boss or the owner, if you've got that relationship, to sponsor you to do it because it's coming out of
absolutely.
their pocket.
So, I mean, I did it a different way. I was just very angry, and when I get angry, I just do things. So I went and signed up for a certificate back when I did it in 2008, 2009. And I went and got a loan and I paid for it myself and all of this kind
Yeah,
of stuff. And
which is
in the
commendable.
end, and I kept quiet about it, didn't tell anybody what I was doing. And then when I finished, I went to my general manager and said, "This is what I've done. I want to move now." Right. And he was just like, "Roxanne." And they ended up paying for the whole thing in the end.
Brilliant.
So, yes, take the advice. Start by telling people that this is what you want to do because you may be able to be sponsored. Look for instance, we have the sponsorship for the beneficiaries. So make sure you apply next year. There are many ways to be able to find the money to be able to do this, not necessarily out of your own pocket, but 100%, I do not regret doing what I did because it has taken me is paid off every single day throughout my career, having taken that initiative and done it to where I am today, where I actually am able to speak back to everybody, which is quite cool. So it's a massive career highlight for me that I've been asked to do this and sort of be part of other people's journeys of enhancing their careers through doing some online learning and backing up there on the job, or even validating what you already know, right? It's just sense checking what you already know and then having a certificate or a qualification at the end. One of the general managers that I worked with previously, and if you see the post from Ali that she put up on Revenue Academy today, you'll see a picture of myself and him standing outside the front of the hotel. And on that day, he said to me, Roxanne, it was a lot of hard work, but one thing, nobody will ever be able to take this away from you. So
Brilliant.
once you've done it, it's in your pockets, it's in your mind, it's in your experience, and nobody will ever be able to take that away from you. So if you do it today, it's going to be with you for the rest of your career. And take it from me, who's been there and come out the other side, it is well worth doing.
Rox, I could talk to you for hours, but I know you've
Mhm.
squeezed this chat in between your many, many meetings. This was the only kind of time you had free to do it today. So, um,
Yeah.
better let you go, but thank you, genuinely, thank you. Like, whenever I talk to you, like, passion for the industry kind of comes across. And also today, like, your passion for helping people through the career, and for Revenue Academy, like, as a new entity, like, comes across. You radiate it.
Thank you. It's really
Thank you.
important, and I'm so glad I have the opportunity to speak about it and support everybody.
You're a star. And that's all we've got time for this week. Like and share the videos. It helps us attract cool guests like Roxanne. See you next week.
Aw, see you. Bye. Here we go.